What's up, everybody? It's Coach Dave, and I left
Coach Carol. I also lift. Welcome to the She Lifts.
She Lifts podcast, and today we are talking about why the scale is not your friend. That's right, the scale is not your friend. One of the things I think fitness in general, and especially when we first start out, because I'm going to say, and I hate to say this because not everyone does, but the bulk of people who come to me definitely say I want to lose weight.
Oh yeah.
Now you're in that. You're in the nutrition. You do
Yeah.
more of nutrition coaching too. So I'm going to say probably a larger
All of
percentage.
them. I want to lose weight.
I have probably about 60 to 70%. I have other 30% that say either I want to gain weight or I just want to be stronger, or not even necessarily really even care about the weight. It's more of their body composition.
Right.
So I have some of that going on. But I'm going to say 60 to 70% of my clients come to me and say I want to lose weight in some way, shape, or form. The amount varies, obviously, but I think a lot of times we get caught up with that and not seeing the changes in other things. There is a ton of other things that we can see changes in when it comes to our fitness. So let's talk about that.
All right. The scale, I mean, we use it, right? So, if I'm doing nutrition for you, I am going to ask what your weight is. But that is not the only thing that we're going to track. And there's reasons for that because the scale cannot tell the difference between fat and muscle. It's only capable of providing you a total weight. Okay. So, like whether you are a human on that scale or a sack of potatoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to show just weight. It doesn't know the difference between the human and the sack of potatoes. Well, humans are complicated, right? So on that total weight, that number includes everything. It includes your muscle. Yes, it includes fat. It includes water weight, a handful of other factors. Have you not gone to the bathroom in 3 days? It includes that, right? Like, well, if you haven't done it in 3 days, you got a problem. Consult your doctor if you haven't gone to the bathroom. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I have clients that stress over the scale. If it goes up a pound because they're weighing constantly, I'm like, well, go poop and come back, like, for real. Like, you're literally one bathroom trip away from losing that pound. So, like, it's irrelevant. It's one of the things we use, though. So is there a purpose for it? it yes and no. Okay, I'm going to go with yes
Okay.
and no.
So yes and no, and I always say so. I had a client. I am still working with him. He came to me. He was 390 some pounds when he started.
Okay.
I was absolutely tracking his weight.
Sure.
Because his goal, first of all, his goal was to get under 200. Secondly, I wanted to see what we were changing because he also was, I want to say, well into the 40s in in fat percentage, if not maybe even to the point that we couldn't even get a reading.
Okay.
Um, so yes, I am tracking his weight first and foremost was the thing that I was tracking. We've lost, I'm going to say, about 120 pounds so far as of in the last about 2 years.
Good on him.
So there for a while, I wasn't really tracking his weight. I was seeing how much weight he could lift. I was seeing how his clothes were fitting, how much more endurance he had.
Yeah.
Now we've kind of hit a sort of stagnation in the weight. So now we're back on focusing on getting the weight coming down.
Right.
Your body can't tell that, again, like you said, fat and muscle. Muscle weighs more than fat. Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry. I know.
I was going to say, please don't make me fight you now.
Okay,
so because people say
pound
that.
No, but it's like saying it's like feathers weigh more than or take up more.
It's how much space it takes up. So the model that we have of a pound of muscle, I used to have one at Anytime Fitness, and I loved it. It's very compact, right? It's compact. It weighs the same as the pound of fat that was much larger because of its makeup. So does it take up less space? Yes, which is why your body composition starts to change as your muscle mass increases and your fat decreases. You can stay the same weight, but you're going to look far different. Right. I am pretty much the same weight I was a few years ago, not at my leanest, but this is my body's comfort zone. Okay. I have reached that weight and I've accepted where I am. I looked leaner because menopause, because 2 years of being pretty sick and not being
Mm-hmm.
able to lift as much. It changes. My weight didn't change, but I definitely look different, which is why I say it's like one of the tools, a better tool. Model A Fitness has one here. I don't know about your other clubs, but like an in body, again, it is still to me a tool and a baseline. I never say it's 100% accurate
Oh no.
because women, you better, whatever you're going to do to weigh, in body, anything like that, better be the same time of the day and the same time of the month for women, okay? Or you're going to get a different reading.
I generally say the same. If you're weighing every day the same time of the day, wake up, go to the bathroom,
Sure,
weigh.
I'll buy that.
If you do that, you'll get an idea of what your
Right.
weight is.
But it should just be a baseline. It shouldn't be an
Well,
obsession.
and here's the thing: if you come to me and you say, "I want to lose 20 pounds,"
Yep.
okay, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to start asking more questions. If you come to say, "I need to lose 150 pounds because my doctor said I'm morbidly obese,"
Sure.
I'm going to take you as say, "Okay, cool, we need to lose 150 pounds." Okay, and then we're going to talk about your health and all that other stuff. But if you come to me and say, "I lose 20 pounds," generally 20 pounds is not the difference between being healthy and unhealthy.
Agree.
Okay.
I'll
So,
agree.
again, if
Yeah.
I put 20, and I always say this, if I put a 10 or a 20-pound weight in a backpack and made you carry it around all day, you could it might suck a little bit, but you could probably
Yeah.
do it. If I put 70 or 80 pounds in a backpack, you might not be able to do it all
Right.
day, right?
Right.
So, if you come to me and say, I need to lose 20 or less pounds, generally my answer is why. If you say I need to lose 150 pounds, I usually already know the answer. It's
Okay.
I'm in pain. I have medical markers that are out of whack. My knees hurt, my back hurts, something like that. But that 10 to 20 pound mark is usually I want to feel better in my skin. I want to feel better in my clothes, and I can do that. I can help you do that without you ever changing a bit. The other part of that, I will say this: two things. It is easier to lose, and this is a Coach Dave quote. This is not something I read there, and this is not exactly backed up by science, but I think I'm going to make it sound scientifically
You go right ahead.
okay. It is easier to lose 100 pounds than
Yeah.
it is to lose 20.
I agree.
Okay, and this is why I say that. If you again going back to what I just said, 100 pounds, there's a reason. There's usually a pretty substantial reason that is rooted in your health. Okay, 20 pounds is usually rooted in your self esteem.
I'll buy that.
Okay,
Yeah.
most
I'll buy
most of
that.
the time,
I'll buy
and
that.
yes, I'm speaking in generalities. I'm not. I agree that it's not 100% on either one of those cases. However, most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, you're
So
right. You're right.
when you have that intrinsic, I need to lose 100 pounds. The you're you're basically fighting for your life at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
no, no. I agree with that. Yeah.
when someone comes to you and says, "Hey, do you want to have a piece of cake, or do you want a piece of pizza, or do you want a beer?" It's easier to say no.
Hmm.
When you're trying to lose those 20
10 or
pounds,
20 pounds is
right?
difficult. Hmm.
And someone says, "Do you want a beer or a piece of cake or a piece of pizza?" That, "Oh, it's just a piece of pizza," or, "Oh, it's just a beer,"
Sure.
or, "Oh, it's just one piece of cake," sort of kicks in because that one piece of cake isn't going to make you gain 10 pounds.
Understood.
All right.
Understood. So one of the things I would prefer if I'm coaching someone, I use a coaching app and you can upload pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And, because the bottom line is you see yourself every day in the mirror. And when you see yourself every day in the mirror, you're not going to be as in tune to subtle changes in your body as your coach would when you have those pictures. So, I had a client about a year ago. She's like, I'm just not seeing these changes. And I'm like, well, and her weight wasn't really at that point fluctuating. She'd had a pretty decent loss in the beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
then we were at that weird point where it's like, okay, we're changing things up. And I had her constantly do her progress pictures were done like every 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. And they load in the app and then I laid them out side by side for her. So she could see from week 1 to week like 7, week 8, and she could see the progression of her back and the muscles that were developing. And, from the side, how her abdomen was shrinking, her waistline from the back and her backside were definitely shrinking. And it wasn't as much change in weight as it was just the fact that, her body composition was changing. She was working out, she was gaining muscle. Now, all that said, this is one of my favorite things. When the scale does go up, that's the reason I always say just go to the bathroom and get rid of it and you'll lose that weight, because people immediately are going to tell you, oh, well, you're gaining muscle. You don't gain fat that fast or muscle that fast. Let me just tell you, if your scale goes up 4 pounds in a week, you did not gain 4 pounds of muscle. I hate to burst your bubble, guys and ladies, but that's not how this works.
So I'm going to say this: we're coming off. Just give everybody some context of what I'm about to say. It is January 4th when we are recording this. We're for most of us, we are 3 to 4 days back in the gym, back to our normal routines,
Right.
back to our meal preps
Post
from
holiday.
post holiday.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say I'm gonna be honest, guys. My holiday, especially my week between Christmas and from Christmas Eve until New Year's Eve was pretty much everything that I would tell somebody not to do, other than the fact that I did go to the gym most of those days.
But was it?
I mean,
But was it good?
oh,
Did you
amazing.
enjoy time with your
I
family?
enjoyed time with my
See,
family.
there you go. This is Coach Carroll saying it's
Right,
okay,
no, I'm not
Dave.
saying there was anything wrong
Right.
with it. I'm just saying,
No.
like, if this was mid-April, I would be like, you did what? No.
Right.
And you weren't on vacation. So I want to give you some context. My weight went up about from December 23rd was the last time I weighed myself, and actually just weighed myself this morning. My weight was about 12 pounds higher. Okay,
It's going to disappear.
it's going to
so
disappear,
fast.
and I'll bet you if I had weighed myself, what's today? Thursday.
Yeah.
Monday, I would have said I've probably lost like 6 or 8 pounds since Monday.
And I've seen that happen with a client. It's not, again, you're not putting that much body fat on that fast.
I haven't lost that much, and I haven't lost that much weight since Monday.
Right.
Because I was eating, I'm going to tell you, I ate some fast food 2 or 3 times
Sodium
over that course
content,
of life. So,
right?
so there's you're talking a lot of sodium. Chips and dips and things that you would have at a typical holiday party.
Sure.
Again, sodium content, holding water, alcohol that I drank is going to cause you to hold water
Yep.
and processed sugar. It's going to raise your blood pressure. It's going to raise your blood pressure, cause you to hold water, raising your blood volume. All these things
Yep.
that are going to impact my weight that are not necessarily tissue gain, not whether they are muscle, they're
Right.
And I was still going to the gym, yeah, and I was taking in more calories than I normally do. I didn't build a shit ton of muscle.
No, you did not.
That.
You did not. But I like to hear when people say that, and I'm just like, no. And
now the one time I will say that when people do that, the people who weigh themselves once a month, if my scale went up and it went
that's
up
a possibility. That's a possibility. Yeah, but we're talking week to week now. It takes, and I forget, I'd have to go back to my stats that I looked at before, but how long it actually does take, generally speaking, men and women to gain muscle, and we gain it at different rates too. If you still want to, go ahead.
Let's talk about this for a second. You go on vacation again. On a vacation,
Yeah.
You tend to eat saltier food. You eat fattier foods.
Yeah.
You eat drink alcohol. What is some other things? You eat sweeter foods. Okay, your body can also hold water. Can also start to hold water because if you're going, here's the thing: if you're going somewhere tropical, you start drinking more water. Your body starts holding more water because it knows it's going to be out in the sun more.
Okay.
So again, you store more water. Your body gets used to sweating more. So when you first come back, you can hold more water because your body thinks it's going to start sweating again.
Right. So here's my thing: if I'm coaching you, especially nutrition, and you still want to use the scale, I will establish guidelines with you. But if you still want to use the scale as your measurement tool in your toolbox, then what I would say is, and we talked about it briefly, wear the same clothes. Like if you're going to do it in, shorts and like, women wear their workout sports bra, whatever, wear the same thing every time so that you can see the changes in your body that clothing is not like going to do, if you're going to wear clothes. Okay. If you're going to do it in the buff, do it in the buff. Just don't do it here at Model A. Cameron will kill you.
Well, no, I didn't say I was going to do it at the gym.
But so the same time of the day, ladies, same time of the month. We talked about that. Like, you talked about making it easiest first thing in the morning. Get up, go to the
Hmm.
bathroom, and weigh yourself if that's what you still want to do. But just, keep in mind that scales can be affected by a number of factors too, depending on what kind of scale you have. Like if it's kept in your
Hmm.
bathroom and it's digital, the moisture could affect it. If it's if it's an older school scale that just, measures the weight, you want to zero that out every once in a while. Like,
I had a competition one time years ago, and I went and I cut weight, and I sat in the sauna, weighed myself on the gym scale,
yeah,
and it said I was at weight. Went home, changed my clothes, washed my face real quick, weighed myself again. My scale said I was, I think, half a pound under what I had weighed myself at the gym.
yep,
I got to the competition. Now, obviously, they are going to do my weigh in. Obviously, they had the most calibrated scale. I was half a pound over. So you're talking three scales
yep,
on a pound swing between the three
yeah,
scales. So again, weighing yourself on the same scale, and if you get a new scale at a new home scale,
yeah.
reestablish that baseline.
Yeah, yeah. Because again, so many things affect it. Water weight, we'll just call it waste material in your body, right? Muscle gain, if it's enough time for that to happen. Medication,
Mm-hmm.
supplements sometimes have an effect. Women, your cycle does. The clothes, if well, we've already found out Dave doesn't wear clothes when he's weighing in, so we know that. But like the clothes you're wearing, if you weigh in clothes, like if I come in and I tend to weigh here at Model A, and I know that I'm weighing in the evening, so I'm probably weighing heavier than I am because I've eaten all day, right? But it's just the time that
Is
I
there a
come
scale
in.
in the ladies' room?
Yeah, there's two. There's the medical scale with the little sliding,
Mm-hmm.
weights, and then there's a stand-on scale.
I don't know if there is a
And I
scale. I'll
always
weigh
just
myself.
look at it and just tell me, lie to me, baby, before I stand on it. I'm like, lie to me, baby, right? Because it is a liar. It's not your friend. It is a habitual liar, but it's my baseline lie. So that's where I go with that,
Right.
right?
Well, yeah. So again, if you're gonna wait, again, like you said, I weighed myself roughly the same time of day. The reason I like early in the morning is because, again, there's nothing I've done
Sure,
differently.
that's a better baseline.
Because if I weigh myself at, let's say, noon, chances are I've eaten. I'm not going to eat the exact same thing in the exact same amount, drink the
No,
exact same amount of water, go to the
no.
bathroom the exact same amount of
Right,
times each time.
right, right.
So here's the question. Here's the big question. We're going to say the scale's not your friend. There's not the only way. It's not the best way to tell, especially if we're in that lower amount of losing weight. So what else can we use to determine how much progress
Well, progress pics we talked about.
we're making? Okay.
If you are skilled at, if you have a coach that's skilled at using calipers, you can use calipers on
So
somebody.
your body fat.
Sure,
Even there are electronic methods of. By the way, I'm not skilled at using calipers. I've never used a caliper.
I have them and I have used them, but it's not my preference. I
No,
mean,
my
because to me, there's too much room for me screwing that up and frustrating a
so
client.
body fat is another one, and unless you're going to see large changes in the, if you're seeing small changes that are, if you're seeing incremental changes, obviously that's a good thing always. But small changes with body fat can be deceiving, especially the less expensive the device is.
Yeah,
If you get one of those cheap handheld ones that are 20-25 bucks, those things can be off 2 to 3% one way or the other. So you're talking a 6% swing.
yeah,
And I've literally done them from one day to the next and seen them change
yeah.
2%. I didn't lose 2% body fat in one day.
No.
So
In
that's one.
in body's a good one. If
In
you have
body is a good
access
one.
to
In
it, I
body,
would
if you have
say it
access
is.
to an in body, there's another one too that we had at Coppermine, or we're getting at Coppermine that I think with a teen. I can't remember the name of it. Um,
I know,
I'll
I'm trying to think back. We had a different one at one of the gyms too at any time, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was different than the InBody. But again, these are pieces of equipment that like your gym can afford to buy. You probably won't have one at home. But I would say a combination of things is to me the best thing. I always talk about a toolbox, and if I were to give you tools in your toolbox, yeah, use your scale as a guide.
how about this? How about things that we can't even measure, or not
Oh,
not
how
necessarily
your
measure,
clothes
how
fit?
your clothes fit.
Sure.
So if again, if you're losing that smaller amount of weight or even larger amounts of weight,
Yeah.
and suddenly you notice my sleeves aren't as tight
Yep.
around, or it's not as tight around my belly. I can get another notch in my belt.
Sure.
Um, the jeans that I once were having trouble buttoning now are starting to slide down
Right.
my hips.
Yep.
Um, How about this? How about it used to hurt to walk up my
Ah,
stairs,
yeah, okay.
but
And
now I can.
it doesn't.
It doesn't. Now it
Yeah.
doesn't. Or I used to get winded walking across my office or walking across the
Sure.
warehouse or the store that I work in.
Right.
Now
How
I
you're
don't.
feeling overall.
Again, I'm going to use myself as an example.
Sleeping.
You're sleeping better. That is a big one. When I first started losing weight,
Yep.
and I'll tell you what, when I first started, I was going to talk about my fitness during my 100-pound weight loss. When I started losing weight, within the first 2 weeks, I was sleeping better and I was waking up with more energy,
Yeah.
feeling. Now I will say the scale moved. The scale moved, and this is
Okay.
when if you go and listen to last week's episode about progressive overload, which sort of ties into here. I lost a shit ton of weight in my first 2 weeks because I was so unhealthy and just by making and I kind of went a little overboard. I probably did some things that I would not coach myself to do.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I went on a low carb diet and I was eating for the first 2 weeks nothing but protein and vegetables. Okay, I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks. Okay,
Not
it's
surprising.
it slowed after that. It never really went back up,
Also not surprising.
but it slowed.
Yeah.
And then I started incorporating fruits and
Sure.
some other things like that. But and again, we've talked about this on this show before Carol got here, so she might not agree with me on this one. But I think for a short term, either as a beginning or a short term plateau buster, a low carb diet can be useful. Can be for short term. Talking 2, 2, 3, 4 weeks tops.
Menopausal ladies don't do it.
I wasn't talking necessarily to
I know.
menopause. I'm talking
I'm just
generally.
throwing
Yeah.
that out there.
No, no.
I mean it because it's good. It does. It's worth saying. Like, we're and again, is it? Can you use it short term for something? Sure. I mean, I can also take water pills and manipulate myself that way. I mean,
Done that.
there's right, and I have too. I have too, especially when I was eating 200 grams of protein a day and 200 carbs a day, and I had an event. And for 5 days leading up to it, I took my lean body like diuretic.
So I tend to cut my carbs on the deload week
Okay.
when I'm doing that.
Carb cycling, I'm 100% on board with.
Well,
And
and again,
that's
if
when it
you're
gets complicated. If you either are going to have an ability to do this and track it, or you're going to have somebody coach you through it. I do agree with carb cycling. I just think that I I have learned so much with my own health issues from manipulating food one way or another
Mhm.
to my benefit and to my detriment, that
Mhm.
I'm very cautious to cut anything out completely.
And again, it was for again,
Short term.
I'm short term, 1 week minimum if you're going to do it,
Yeah.
4 weeks max if you're going to do
Yeah.
it, and even 4 weeks is a lot.
It's a lot.
But if I'm and again, again, this was definitely one that Laura and I talked about. She said she used a low carb diet, and I can't remember if it was keto or some other form of low when she was getting ready for her in the weeks leading up to her wedding. I did it. I do it a lot when I get ready for competitions.
Yeah.
About to let 3 weeks out from competitions, I sort of go back to very lean meats, vegetables, healthy fats. Cut my carbs down to help my body get water weight out.
But see, and there's always a give and a take though, and we're, and then we'll get back on topic. But
Right.
if you I've done keto.
Uh-huh.
I did a healthy keto, and I could say healthy because it's not all about
Mm-hmm.
bacon and cheese, people. There's a healthier keto, and I did it to try and combat inflammation in my
Uh-huh.
body. Now, did I get lean? Yeah. Did I weigh 127 pounds? Sure did. That's about, I don't know, 8, 9 pounds tinier than I am now. Did I lose strength? And I was
Mm-hmm.
lifting consistently at that time. Oh, heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Because you can't, you need those carbohydrates. But short term, yes.
So short term doing that, and but when you again going back to what my original point with this was those that 20 pounds, a large portion of that was water weight
Of course it is.
because
That's
my
how
body
these
right
things
work.
work.
But in doing so, I was able to walk across my showroom
Sure.
without without.
What
So again,
that's
this is
how
what
I
this is what
lost
this is.
that's how I lost in the beginning, when I lost the majority of the 50 pounds that I've kept off for about 15
My
years.
point is that was a bigger victory to me than the 20
Yeah, yeah,
pounds
yeah.
that had
Yep,
come off. Being able to sleep better
yep.
was a bigger victory than the 20 pounds that had come off.
Yeah.
Um, the fact that right now I sit here, I have uh, no pain in my ankle. I do have pain. I have a pain, but it's a different pain. In my knee, I don't have that same just achiness in my
Sure.
knee. Now it's an actual injury from a
So
car accident,
right.
but I don't have that. I don't struggle to get up off the floor.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
I can remember like sitting on the floor playing with my daughter, who at the time wasn't even 1 years old when I started. Now I can sit down with my 4 year old and play with toys or play video games or whatever, and then when I go to get back up, I can get right back
Right,
up.
right. So those are, a lot of people like the word non-scale victories, and that's
Hmm.
exactly what they are. And even down to the one of vanity, because let's face it, we all want to look in the mirror and feel good about what we see. So, as your clothes size drops or your body changes shape a little bit, and you look in the mirror and go, you know what, I don't look so bad. That's good. That's good. It's not all about the scale. Fat loss is not linear. Fat loss,
No, fat loss
I
is
always
not linear.
say it's a curvy road. It's a curvy road. It's going to be all over the place. Lots of ups and downs.
And there is.
And that's normal,
It
right?
is,
It's
and it
normal.
is because again, going back to what I said just a few minutes ago, 20 pounds I lost, and then it slowed,
Yep.
and then it would slow, 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 and then would take a big dip. It felt like every couple months it would take like a big 5 pound
Yep.
dip, like within 2 weeks or something like that,
Right.
and then I would slow to where I might lose a pound a week, and then I would
Right.
take another big 5 pound dip.
Right.
Like so, again, be that I think that's another thing that we could talk about. We could probably make a whole show about it, but I'm going to use a little point here is patience.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, as a whole, people are impatient. We want the quick fix. We want, gosh, I mentioned it almost on every show. We want the program that I can sell you my products and make money off of you buying them from me so that you lose stupid weight in the first, I don't know, 4 to, let's say 8 weeks, or maybe even 12 weeks. Let's say 12 weeks. The first 12 weeks, you're going to lose weight. It's a 12-pound, if you read the fine print, average person loses 12 pounds and then they stop. Why? Because they can't lose anymore eating toddler food. So again, it's, you got to be patient. If it's worth it, it's worth working for it. To me, that's the thing, and be patient with yourself.
And I'm going to say this: there are plenty. I mean, let's face it, guys. This is what I do for a living, so I do make money. I have programs that I write and sell, and services that I write and sell. So
Yeah,
not
but
every
this is not the kind of
no, no, no.
program I
And
was
again, I
talking
get what you're
about.
saying. So not
Yeah.
everyone who is selling you something is necessarily in it just for the money. We talked about that last week
Right.
in on our roundtable discussion, or 2 weeks
Right.
ago, that we're not always here in it for the money, and I want to make something clear. Yes, this is how Cameron runs a gym. Matt runs a very successful business. I'm building a successful
Right.
business.
This is
Carol is
part-time
building
for
a
me.
success.
Right, but this is
This is
part-time
part
for
time
me.
for you. This is
Yep.
it's for me.
That's your life.
This is my life.
Yeah.
For Matt, this is his life. For
Yep.
Cameron, the gym is her life. We continue. Laura also. This is her full
Sure.
time. She has a couple of them, but fitness is her full time job. This is everything that we do is not specifically to make money. I'll give you an example. I make no money. Do you?
Doing this?
Doing this.
No,
Oh, good.
man.
Because I say if we were going to have a problem.
Right, we're going to have a problem that I'm getting
Oh.
paid. Yes, I have these big sponsors that, no, we
But
don't know. Why do we do
we
this?
do this because we enjoy it. It's a good outlet for all the things that we want to talk about, and
Yep.
it gives us the chance to help you guys.
Right.
Yes. Ultimately, somewhere in the back of my mind, I hope you guys click that link in the bio and check me out at Rockstar Fitness or Carol out at Love Yourself Health Coaching. But
If you,
plug.
thank you.
Okay.
But if you don't do like take the takeaway and apply it to your life. So the scale, it's not your
The
friend.
scale is not your
It's
friend.
one thing you can use. It cannot tell you all the progress and good stuff that's taking place when you're working out and your nutrition's on point. It
How
just
about your
can't.
medical markers?
Right. It can't tell you any of that.
If you haven't lost a pound but your A1C's gotten better,
Sure.
your cholesterol's gotten better,
Absolutely. Blood
your
pressure goes
triglycerides, your
down.
blood
Right.
pressure's gone down. Um,
Can't be measured. That's
how
priceless.
about this? How about this? And this one might not apply to everyone. Let's say I used to be able to run a mile in 14, 15 minutes. Now I can run a mile in 12 minutes. Now I can run a mile in 10 minutes.
Right.
Now, when I walked into the gym, I was struggling to bench press 135 pounds for 3 sets of 10. Now I'm flirting with being able to do 185 for 3 sets of 10.
Right.
And I can do 225 pounds. That's two big plates for 2 to 3 reps sometimes,
Right.
depending on the gym
All
and the
stuff
day.
that scale is not going to tell you.
Right. And my weight hasn't changed in the last, unless I have manipulated it for a competition, in the last 2 years or so. I have floated right around 178 to
Okay.
182 pounds,
Yep.
depending on the day, depending on how much salt I've had. Other than my, like I said, vacations, holidays, stuff like that, where I tend to go up a good amount of
Right.
weight. I have floated right around there. My strength has gone up. I've gone down another pant size. I have gone. I'm flirting on going back up a shirt size, but in a good way because my
Right.
shoulders have gotten bigger. Um, and there's a difference. There's a huge difference between. I'm going to say this. Prior to really getting serious about lifting, prior to becoming a trainer, I was walking around at about 195 pounds.
Okay.
I saw someone who never really saw me at 270 pounds, and they still saw me a lot at 195. They saw me recently, and they said, "Oh, you've gotten bigger." I'm actually 10 pounds
Interesting.
smaller, carrying around a lot more muscle
Right.
than I was 10 pounds
Right.
of fat ago.
So don't just rely solely on the scale
Right.
for your sanity.
The scale is not your friend. The scale is not the only way to measure your fitness.
Yep.
Fitness is not about, a lot of people we focus. I want to say this: fitness is not about what we lose; it's what we've gained. And when you gain the ability to walk around without being short of breath, when you gain the ability to get yourself off the floor with playing with your kid,
Right.
when you get the ability to walk up
Right.
stairs pain free and get in and out of your car without help, you are not just gaining a number on the scale. You are gaining control of your life, and that is why we're here. It's not to be athletes. It is not to be bodybuilders. It is to
Nope.
improve the quality and longevity of our life. And the the scale will never tell you whether how healthy you are.
Correct.
So that's all we have for this week. Join us next week when we talk about our excuses. That's right, folks, there is always an excuse. We will always find a reason not to eat healthy. We will always find a reason not to go to the gym. And we're going to break some of those down, and we're going to talk about what is real and what is just an excuse.
No excuses. You better be here.
That's right. No excuses. You better tune in next week. Until next week, I'm Coach Dave. Check me out at Rockstar Fitness on Facebook, bwebster023 on Instagram. With Coach Carol, check her out. Love Yourself Health Coaching on Instagram and Facebook, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at She Lifts He Lifts Podcast.
Yep.
Until next week, ladies and gentlemen,